Hello everyone, it is time for a brand new Q&A video. I love doing these because I love my Patreon team, and all four of these questions that we're going to hit today come from members who are on a certain tier of the Patreon campaign. If you want more information on how to get in on that, I've got the link to the campaign at the bottom of your screen right now. So go check it out and let's get into it, because there are a lot of questions on the lineup that are just, I don't know, full of positivity. And I don't know about you guys, but I need that right now. So first question on the list is from Evan. Evan wants to know, what's the happiest you've ever been in your life? Really, we would be here all day if I went down a list of everything that's ever made me super happy in my life. Most of them are associated with family, but I've picked four things here that are, probably fresher on my mind because they're a little more recent. But I wanted to start the list with getting into film school because, hey, when I first applied, I didn't think I had any chance of getting in. I didn't have any real filmmaking experience beforehand. I did get a certificate at NYU in digital filmmaking, but a lot of the other people in that program had real experience making shorts and doing other things in the industry, and maybe even studying film undergrad, whereas I didn't. So when I actually got in, I could not have been happier. It felt like a major opportunity and a major chance to take my career forward in a new way, because I was already working as a film critic at the time, and I was just so thrilled. And then the fact that that program didn't just meet my expectations, but so far exceeded them. I still to this day can't believe the experiences I had in that program and the things that I got out of doing it. So that's on the list. Also, hosting that Cobra Kai panel, and I know everyone's talking about Comic-Con, that might be why this cracked the list right now, but my first Comic-Con, I'll never forget sitting in the audience, specifically in Ballroom 20, and just, I don't know, dreaming of being up there one day hosting a panel of my own. And ever since I first started in this industry, I've always loved interviewing more than anything. I love a lot of elements of this job, but interviewing is definitely a favorite. So it was a real dream to get to stand up on that stage and to be able to moderate a conversation, especially about a property that I love so much. And Cobra Kai ticked all the boxes in that sense. It really was an incredible experience where not only did I feel like I really lucked out with the group of talent that I was moderating for, but also just having my Collider colleagues there, being fully prepared and going in nervous but confident in the work I was about to deliver. I was just so beyond thrilled about all of that. Next up here, this is probably a no-brainer for anybody who's been following this channel the past year, but it was completing the marathon. I've set a lot of athletic goals for myself over the years, but this was something different, not just because it was 26.2 miles, which still seems crazy to me, even though that I did it, but it's also because you set this goal and then you have to accomplish this goal within a very small time frame, even though, 6 to 8 months does sound like a lot. And that was a lot of time to lose my social life for, but the fact that you just have that starting point and then you get to the finish line, it was just such an incredible feeling. And that was one of those things that reminded me, as cheesy as it sounds, I can do anything I set my mind to. So I'm still looking for that next, not necessarily marathon, but the next athletic goal I could set for myself so I could try to get it done. But I wanted to finish this list with a very special one, and one of the happiest moments of my life is when my niece Robbie was born. Adding to our family is something that, even though Robbie's here, I still can't fully wrap my head around the whole thing, but I'm so in love with her. She melts my heart every single time I look at her. And then on top of it, I'm just so proud of my sister. Growing up, like any siblings out there, we had our differences. I always thought she was immature because I was the older one, all that nonsense. But she's just become the best mother in the world. She gives everything she has to Robbie, and I love Robbie so much, and I'm so proud of Lonnie. So that had to make the list right here. Now, though, it's time to move on to the next question. This one's from Luke, and Luke is asking, We can all use a pick-me-up. What are things in your everyday life that distract you, make you smile, or are thankful for? Given the fact that I was just talking about my sister and my niece, let's get that part out of the way first, because it's super obvious. My family, you guys know that when the pandemic, not necessarily started, but when the shutdowns started, I picked up and I left LA and I came home to New York to be with my family. And even though I do miss my own space and I'm getting a little stir crazy, that was the best possible decision that I made, because they are just some of the most loving, warm, kind, caring people. Like, seriously, any positive descriptor you could imagine, just apply it to my family, because they are the absolute best, and there is no doubt in my mind that they are keeping my spirits way, way up right now. So I really do think the decision to come home was the best decision I made through all of this. Also, I mean, Dewey's in my lap right now. I don't know if you could kind of see his head peeking out from behind the computer screen. I don't want to disturb him, but really, I think Dewey is a bright spot in my life every single day of my life, no matter what's going on. But the fact that I was able to make that move from LA to New York in the midst of all this craziness with him, and he's basically here with me 24/7, has been a major source of positivity as well. Seriously, I look at his face and I can't help but to smile. So Dewey is in the mix as well. And then there's also just so many little things. I mean, in particular, I talk about food all the time because that is kind of a bright spot in the day. I don't know how much you all care about food, but I love eating. I look forward to my next meal. And, being back in New York, I have had access to certain things that I used to love that I didn't have access to often when I went to LA. So to be able to, I don't know, get yogurt from a favorite yogurt place, or a New York bagel, or a New York pizza, those little things really do make a huge difference. So I kind of never try to lessen the value of that. And I mean, speaking of that, also Merry Hour on Friday night, I guess that's kind of a little thing. Not so little, though, because it's a show that Matt and I pour a lot of time and effort into. But being able to look forward to that every Friday evening, to seeing my friend, kicking back and relaxing and having a drink with him and with all of you, and then getting to play beer pong, which you guys know I love. I don't know, that's just a little thing that has really made a big difference in my week to week. So anybody who participates in the Merry Hour, thank you for that. Question number 3 now. Let's hit this question from Billy. Billy wants to know, what's a movie sequel you love but everyone seems to hate? I want to bring up 2 movies here, and hate's probably a strong word to describe them, but I do think they deserve more love than they get. And the first one I want to bring up is, no surprise from this Jurassic Park lover, The Lost World. I know it gets a lot of shit for that 3rd act, but I think they kind of justify it. And when you look back at Jurassic Park, so that movie, you guys know, it's my favorite movie of all time, and it's on many best of all time lists out there. It's a very high bar to hit, so I'm not saying that The Lost World comes close to that, but I know that it gets a lot of crap for bringing the T-Rex to the mainland, but it does make sense. Think about where it all started with John Hammond wanting to bring people to a dinosaur park on a secluded island. When that fails, it makes all the sense in the world for someone else who wants to reap the monetary benefits from an idea like that to say, gotta twist it a little here. Let's bring a dinosaur to the people. So I really do think that that was a reasonable place to take the story, but I do know that the way it's executed does get a little silly at times, the T-Rex eating the dog, all that, but it still plays well enough for me. And also, that movie has a lot of excellent sequences in it. Some of my favorites are obviously the raptor field. I love the Compy attack, also the trailer attack. There is lots to love, and I wish that movie got even more respect than it does. Similarly, I would also say The Conjuring 2. The first Conjuring is one of my favorite movies of all time. It was my favorite movie of 2013. Again, a very high bar to hit. The Conjuring 2 does not quite get there, but I also think that this movie deserves way more praise than it gets, specifically for taking the horror genre and the scares, more specifically the scares, and putting that behind character development. Because by doing that, you wind up amplifying the scares because you care more about the characters. And just like they do in The Conjuring 2 really gets you attached to the family being attacked by this evil entity, the Hodgsons, and you really fall for them. I think that whole ensemble is fantastic. The thing that doesn't work as well in The Conjuring 2, I would say, is combining the Hodgson story with what's happening to the Warrens. I do think there's great character development for the Warrens in this movie, and it really does intensify the devotion that Ed and Lorraine have for each other, in addition to how much they pour their heart and their souls into their work as well. But when it comes to those two storylines crossing paths, I think that's where the script gets weak. But again, there's such a strong foundation and attachment built for both sets of characters that even when the story and the logic there gets a little muddied up, it still works and you're still fully invested in what's happening to them. So I think that that movie is also a sequel that deserves more credit than it gets. Let's hit this last question now. It's from Ian. Ian's asking, what have been some of your favorite miniseries? In doing research to answer this question, I realized that I actually haven't seen a lot of the must-watch miniseries out there, or at least I haven't seen them as recently as I should have to basically confidently answer this question. But I will give you two answers that are fairly recent, and it's because they're fresh on my mind and because I know they're both fantastic. When They See Us is the first one, Netflix release from Ava DuVernay. Phenomenal ensemble, and that was just so incredibly powerful. I still think about certain moments of it to this day. And now similarly from Netflix, I also have had the same thing happen to me from Stateless. You guys know I watched it a couple weeks ago. I posted a review. I'm covering it more this week, which I'm very excited about, but I can't stop thinking about what happened in that series and the fact that that's still happening to people to this day. Again, phenomenal performances across the board, one of the greatest ensembles out there. I really hope that, like When They See Us made waves during award season, Stateless does the same thing with the Emmys when we circle back next year, because there's a lot of work that really needs to be applauded in that one. In researching the things that possibly could have made this list, though, I did want to pinpoint one that when I get some free time, I'm hoping to actually watch to see if I like it as much as many other people out there seem to like it. And it's called Dead Set, from Charlie Brooker, who of course is the individual behind Black Mirror, which I love. It's a 5-part miniseries, and it's about an apocalyptic zombie outbreak seen through the eyes of the cast and crew of a Big Brother-like show. It just, it sounds right up my alley. It does sound vaguely familiar. I'm sure someone's recommended it to me before, but in doing research to answer your question, Ian, I have pinpointed that as something I would like to watch. If and when I do, I'll let you guys know what I think. Before I leave you all, another big thank you to Evan, Luke, Billy, and Ian, not just for sending in some really thoughtful Q&A questions, but also for being just positive, wonderful influences on the Patreon community overall. Really appreciate having you guys there. Thanks to everybody out there watching this video. Again, if you'd like to jump into the Patreon experience yourself, I've got the link for you at the bottom of the screen right now. Check it out. And before you leave this video, please don't forget to like and share it, and I'll see you soon with more Q&A videos.